Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name's Phil. Joining me as usual, I've got Rohan. Hey, Rohan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks. And today we've got Benjamin joining us. Hey, Benjamin.
Hi, thank you guys for having me on. It's an honor to come on and talk nerdy to you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate you
Thanks for
taking the
making
time. As usual, this episode of the Home Assistant Podcast is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabu Casa. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports the Home Assistant, ESP Home, and ZWave.js projects. Configuration is done via the user interface, so no fiddling with router settings, SSL certificates, or any YAML. So, Benjamin, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. As we always say, if it's not for people like you, we wouldn't have a podcast, so thank you. Why don't you give us a little bit of an intro to who you are, how you got here today?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my name is Benjamin, and I come from Norway. It's you may have heard of it. It's a small country in Northern Europe. It's cold, lots of fjords and mountains. We all live in a hill. So you can get a lot of summer. It's chill. I've been using Home Assistant for a while. It wasn't always like that. I've been doing this for smart home stuff for, I think it's over a decade now. I think it's like 12 years or so. And it basically started out like went to a hardware store and found these sockets with 433 megahertz next with the remote control, and just pulling that into the wall, and just the magic of being able to control like the whole room with a single remote, right? Sitting on the couches, controlling everything. So that was like the beginning, and then like everyone listens probably just started rolling the ball from there. So basically, eventually I got like I don't know if you're aware of Telstick, like a Teldus. It's kind of a live service, and I use it for 33 megahertz protocol as well. So basically, just it's building some like webhook stuff, building some simple dashboards, and with HTML and some Ajax stuff going on, and just kind of simple stuff. And actually, like a funny story as well was I got one of those. It has some door sensors as well that you could buy, and temperature sensors and motion sensors. So I wanted to like measure when you open the fridge, how many times you open the fridge. So I put a door sensor on the fridge. And that was okay. That was a good idea at first, but eventually we had a sleepover at night. I lived with my girlfriend at the time, and we broke up eventually. I don't know if this had anything to do with that, but as it turns out, like when you turn off the light switch and turn it back on, like the sockets go into learning mode. So it happened to be that when somebody opened the fridge door just in time for somebody to turn on the socket again. So for the longest time, the fridge controlled the living room lights. So that was like the beginning of everything. It was just horrible. That's a status approval factor for you. So actually, it's that was like the beginning, and eventually I got like a Philips Hue hub, and started to actually build like simple dashboard for tablet where I could just connect it to the public transport API in Norway. So you could I had this small box where you entered like. It said like it's 5 minutes until the tram leaves. So whenever it was like 3 minutes, it turned yellow. I had to walk, and when it turned red, it's like 1 minute you have to run in order to make it, and eventually it just turned black. You're too late. So it's just a lot of ideas eventually, and so eventually I got to I bought my first apartment, and I actually got one of those. Atom Homey devices. It's a Dutch company. I don't know if you've heard of those. It's more of a commercial alternative to Home Assistant. It has like a built-in like all the protocols, like Z-Wave, ZigBee, Bluetooth, IR, Wi-Fi. Is like that's their
Yeah.
thing, like having everything connected. But it's a commercial alternative, which was recently acquired by LG as well. So because at the time I thought that I found that Home System was like maybe a bit like too tech oriented. Like you had to write YAML for a lot of things, and especially when it came to like Z-Wave and ZigBee, like configuring the hardware and getting everything set up. It was like I wanted a more easy way to make things happen at the time. But obviously, a lot of things has happened since then. So I used that for a while and built my own dashboard with as well because the Homey didn't have a dashboard at the time. So I just built one with HTML
Right.
and opening some ports on my router and just doing some really clever stuff. Yeah, try to do as I'm saying. Know what I do. Yeah.
I guess you said that like you've been into home automation and smart home stuff for 12 years. When you decided to use that device, was Home Assistant an option then? Because Home Assistant's what?
Yeah. Because this was a bit later, so I'm just fast forwarding a little bit. So it was an alternative at the time, but it obviously required to. I didn't have like my own server. I didn't have the hardware for it. I didn't have and also I needed to buy like all of the like the COM-B or something or for ZigBee and Z-Wave. So that point of entry was like a bit too steep for me, I think, at the time. So I wanted simple. I just want to get started and make things happen. And also the support of different brands was also maybe not just as broad at the time. So this was maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, I think, when I landed on that. But yeah, so what actually happened was I was at work and just found out that nothing works at home. And I just I was kind of worried about that. So I was like, what do I do now? So actually, I just drove home and when I plugged in a monitor and a keyboard and mouse into my server computer at home, it's like in the middle of a ransomware attack. I could see it was like like those like Visual Basic forms, like those applications, simple applications. Those are like one of those. I could see like encrypting file. Oh, that's my files. That's one. That's my files. And then copying over like a ransomware.txt, like readme, like the thing. And I was able to actually press cancel on the whole thing in that application. Nice. I was like, is this how it works? Like, could I just sit there and cancel this process? But obviously that's what I realized. I'm not a developer. I'm never going to be a developer. So okay, I'm not going to. So a lot of people just sighing right now, like you should do this, you should do that. But I'm not I work in marketing. I'm kind of a tech savvy guy. Like I know a bit of things. I know a bit of coding, and it's like I know enough to do dangerous things, but not in a safe way. Yep. So that's when I decided I need to do something new. I need to think how can I get the most out of a single package. And obviously that's when Home System came into my life again. And I have never looked back since. It's been just amazing, like seeing how the developers has been working, and also the community as well, like with hacks and all the integrations and stuff like that. Just see how many possibilities we've got just in a very short time, just in a few years, and the Year of the Voice and now everything they're doing. It's just been amazing how big the updates are, how it's always exciting every month. Like, so it was actually when we bought our new house. It's decently, I think square meters, but I think it's square feet. It's like 3,800 or something. So it's
Right.
so I decided, okay, I'm going to do this the right way this time, and got a Nook and a Zigbee and a Combi, and decided, okay, I'm just going to do this, and we're going to spend the time actually making this doing this the right way this time.
So do you spend a lot of time with your dashboards and stuff now, like in terms of, because again, obviously in the past you built it from scratch. Do you? I know. Lately, I've talked to quite a few people that are just like, I love a dashboard, but I hate building them, and like because it takes time and it takes whatever, right? And it's do you still spend a lot of time on building those dashboards out, making them look nice, and etc., like that kind of thing?
Yeah, because I have a lot of one. I have a tablet in my kitchen, and I have a
Yeah,
few of those Google Nest Hubs with that I cast dashboards to. So I think that's part of uh, the spouse approval thing as well. Like if you display things that
yeah,
actually make sense and not crowding them a lot of switches and sensors that doesn't make sense. That's only cool, but doesn't make sense uh, for our in a family perspective. So I
sure,
spend a lot of time like building like how can we use home automation and the smart home as a way to like enhance the schedule that we have. That we have two kids. We have a daughter that's 2 and a son that's 5 months old. So just trying to make the house accommodate like our schedule, like our needs, and dashboards
yeah,
are a big part of that. Like, for example, having the kids' camera displayed in the kitchen tablet after bedtime. That like it's like conditional card, right? That's a small thing, but that
Mm.
has huge impact on, um, yeah, it's making it usable and accessible. So I do spend a lot of time building dashboards as well. I think at
yeah,
this point I spend more time building dashboards than adding devices because the house is kind of full right now. So I have
yeah.
my fiance won't let me buy any more stuff right now. It's just too much.
Well,
Um,
so can I want to just on that, and this is one of my burning questions. Can I rattle off? And this I must preface this. This was an email you sent to us like a year ago when you first reached out to us. You've got a Ring doorbell, and a Yale Doorman door lock. You've got 3 Aquara roller shutters, 5 other brand roller shutters, 2 switch lock curtains, 16 Hue friendly Zigbee downlights, 3 Chromecasts, 15 Z-Wave temperature sensors. We've just thrown in a Roborock S8 Pro Ultra for the fun of it as well. And not to mention, how many ESP home devices are you up to now? Um,
I think
have you
yeah.
I don't know how laggy your Home Assistant instance is, but wow! Like, not to. And sorry,
Yeah,
the,
but
the big one I had
yeah,
was you've got 8 Z-Wave thermostats to throw into that as well. Like, I have so many questions
yeah.
about.
Yeah, try to imagine what my house looks like. It looks like it's just it's a house from the 80s, and it's was built or added to in 2008.
Yep.
Basically, like maybe doubling the square feet. So it's like a lot of quarters, a lot of rooms. Like for example, like for heated floors, we have
Mm,
and maybe a room that could have been like had we built it today, it would be one thermostat, but we have like 4 thermostats
Right.
in basically like a small room here, a small room there, and there's a corner, and there's a different yeah. So that's part of the reason. Like it doesn't. And that was also a reason why I wanted to do this the right way because we have for lighting as well. Things has a lot of rooms. Like for example, the living room has light switches in um, like 4 different spots, all
oh,
on different sides of the
yeah.
living room. So a lot of people probably
It's
experience that. They have to walk around, like shut everything down. Um, and when you get home, I had to walk through a dark room to get to the switch, or because it's just they didn't think about it at the time.
Yeah.
So that's what was and the entire house also has downlights, and I think we have a total of maybe 100 bulbs. And
wow.
obviously I couldn't afford replacing all the bulbs, and it was also like 12 volts installation. So I couldn't do it at the time. It would cost way too much. So I replaced all the dimmers with some. It's actually a Norwegian, or I'm not sure if it's a Norwegian brand, but it's called Namron, and it's basically a hue-friendly dimmer that it's basically a Zigbee, so you could add it to home system as well if I decide to do that later.
Right.
But it supports Philips Hue, so I actually use the Philips Hue hub and added everything to that because I find that it's that will still live even if my home assistant should be disabled for while I tinker or whatever. At least the lighting will work.
This is actually really interesting. So you've got like dimmers in the wall that can then, because usually when I read Philips Hue friendly, I thought, oh wow, you've just gone ahead and replaced all your downlights with a RGB downlight, right? But what you're saying is you've actually replaced the dimmer in the wall that can control the whole circuit, and it is available in the Philips Hue app.
Yes, it just shows up as a unknown kind of unknown lamp. So and you can control it. Basically, it's only brightness, so you don't have it's not RGB, but it's we don't use RGB for most cases, anyways. And even in the rooms that we do have some RGB lights. The only thing about those is I find that they don't always report back when you physically press the dimmer switch. It's a rotating dimmer. Those are most usual in Norway. So you just build them into like a 55 millimeter frames, because you have those frames, and you just replace the existing dimmer. So that works pretty well. I couldn't really settle on a like a relay to put in, or a dimmer relay to put in the back, because I think the Philips Hue ones are battery driven and not not mains driven. So just the thought of having to replace like 18 batteries, and in Norway as well, we're not allowed to touch behind the frames. We need electricians for that. So I've actually had some out of maybe like 25 things put into the physically into the wall. I think 2 of them was DOAs. So I had to actually get the electricians to come back, and because I brought them myself, I had to pay for them to come and rip it out of the wall, and so it's a lot of like stuff and a lot of like small electronics in these devices that adds to. So the maintenance of these things are a bit more than basic switch. So, but think about having to getting 100 bolts, right? And every single one of them has electronics as well. So there's a lot of possible problems going on there.
Yeah, like it's insane. And I think we were talking to a guest a couple of episodes ago, and he was saying, like, I put a failure rate, of over X amount of years, right, of all these dimmers that are going to be in my wall, and extrapolating that, I'm going to be replacing, like 2 dimmers a year or something like that. And I was like, I didn't picture it, like that.
And also I thought about that when I chose my wall switches as well, because I didn't want to rip them out of the wall either. So I got one of those, I'm not sure if you heard those, Scenic Friends of Hue. They use the Enocean technology, so just when you press it, it just generates enough energy to send the Zigbee signal.
Yeah.
And that's great, because I have 18 of those as well. So just everything that doesn't need to replace the batteries. So that's also the spouse approval factor as well. Just having to okay, this doesn't work. Doesn't work. Like you have 100 devices with batteries, that there's going to be like a complaint like every week about something not working. So I do have a few sensors with that problem. I had to replace batteries. But that just means that you have to press a physical button when you enter a room. So that's better than not being able to do something because, or even turn on the lights, right? Yeah.
But as long as at least you have that ability to physically go in and press a button and turn it on and that kind of thing, right? That's what's important there.
Yeah, and that was so important for me when because when in our
Yeah.
previous apartment, we didn't plan to live there for many years. We ended up living there in 3. So actually, like, got some of those like Philips Hue smart buttons, and actually just uh, uh, stuck them on top of the existing light switch. And it was like, it
Right.
actually was very old. It was light switches from the 60s, so the actual frames were like circular. The small buttons just fit over that circular board. It was kind of like hacky DIY thing. But so I
Right.
decided that I want to make make it look like a normal house. So you won't know if it's smart until you actually are there for a while. So also the kids' grandparents are babysitting and coming in, and we have a lot of people
Sure.
in and out of the house, and we said, I can't just explain to them. You have to talk to some assistant or talk to do open an app or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay, like the last thing you want to be doing is giving someone an instruction manual that's going to be there in the house for 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's where, the design philosophy needs to be. Like the house should work for you, not against you, essentially.
Yeah, definitely.
So you talked about driving a lot of the stuff with your tablets and stuff like that, right? Like, so what else do you use? I know you talked about that you were excited for voice. Do you use Home Assistant voice today? Um, what does that look
I
like, or do you use something
Yeah,
else?
I've started using it a little bit, and I
Yeah.
really wanted it to work,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
and I do, and obviously, with 2 small kids, I have limited time as well. So I just thought,
Mm.
okay, we're just gonna try this and do this and that. So I actually tried to build some of those um, um, voice satellites with some Raspberry Pi zeros, Raspberry
Nice.
Pi 2 zeros, yeah, voice satellites, and they worked
Yeah.
for a while, and eventually, as for some reason that was related to, I think, the devices that had some problems, or my configuration had some problems. But
Yeah.
actually, what works best is I have a tablet in the kitchen that replaced, previously I had a Google Nest Hub there, but I replaced that with a tablet and 3D printed a stand that basically looks like the Nest Hub stand. So it just stands like diagonally facing us. So and just run fully kiosk on that, and actually set up Tasker with one of those plugins, Wakeword plugins. So I actually added the Nabu trigger word for that. And also the Google one. My girlfriend can actually use it like she had before with adding things to the shopping list. And that actually works even in Norwegian, adding things to the shopping list. So that's the only intent that I've actually added at this time.
Okay.
And I really want someone that has the time to like make a list of intents that everyone should have, and just help us think of everything, because it's like it's always like what's the weather, what's going on here and there, what's shopping list, control devices, like a lot of these custom intents that you have to add yourself. I don't have the time to like have the creativity to sit there and think of every possible use case. So we should probably crowdsource that or something, like having like an extensive list that we can actually just paste into our configuration and just, I mean, these are things that we can actually say. Because I'm always reactive. Like whenever my girlfriend wants to do something with voice, she tries to say it and it doesn't work, and she doesn't try again because it doesn't work, and she's probably not even going to admit to me that she tried it. So yeah, that's kind of a problem that but the shopping list actually works for me in that regard. So but that's a kind of an issue voice as well. I find that you need to plan ahead of a lot of things, while
Sure.
the Nest devices just takes basically everything you throw at it, and just makes
Yeah.
things happen. Usually, in a lot of people say they have bad experiences with the Google One as well, but I actually found it to be working quite well. I have a lot of those still. I'm waiting for like a good enclosure, like something that looks good.
Yep.
I know there's some projects where you can retrofit into the Nest Minis, like getting your an ESP based assistant onto there. So maybe I will
Yeah.
do that someday. But just getting, I would be willing to pay for a device that actually has a nice form factor. That's not like, because the satellites I did build is like it's like a Raspberry Pi board with the like the microphone hat on top of it and the wire going
Yeah.
out to a the speaker. It's not for the kitchen, at least. Maybe the office. If, yeah,
And particularly with young kids around, right? Like they're going to see
yeah,
cords hanging out of something, and they're just going to yank it,
Yeah.
and then there goes all that soldering that you've done, right?
yeah, yeah.
So
That's why you don't. That's why you don't let Phil solder or anything. It's it's because it will come apart. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to show any soldering I've done.
Yeah. It's don't worry, I'm just as bad. But it's it's interesting because I know there's a couple of folks working now. I forget who it was, but somebody did working on building a nicer, more powerful smart speaker, right? When you look at like and I've shown this a few times, like the M5 stack Atom, right? Which it's cool as a proof of concept because it works, right? It'll speak, it'll listen, it'll do whatever. But one is they're like that big, meaning your speaker is only so good. And two is I mean, aesthetically it looks fine because it's tiny, you can hide it somewhere, but it's also not the best receiving device and stuff like that, right? It's has to be very specific. It's great for testing, which is why I have a couple. But same, Benjamin. I'm waiting on the something I can get good sound with, because I do use my Echoes for whole home audio, right? Like it's I wish I could have that today, because then I could do a lot of these too. So I know there's folks working on this right now. Yeah, it'll be kind of cool to see where that goes.
I will say I've just started using Music Assistant, um, and that seems promising, particularly the way it ties in with Home Assistant, and I'm guessing now the voice assistant as well. And I can see that's where Home Assistant is heading, right? So I'm excited to see uh, the ability for Assist to be able to direct music, which it can now with Music Assistant. Direct play this track on this speaker, um, and that's, I think, you're 90% of the way there, right? My only concern is that the Echoes and the Sonos speakers have really good sound cancellation. So if you're
Yeah,
playing like a song, you can still talk over that song to get its attention. But if you've got, like a little ESP32 device hanging around next to a smart speaker, and then you're playing music against it, there's no way you are getting the Nabu Wake Word or anything to work for you,
Yeah, definitely.
unless they can cancel that out somehow. Um, I don't think that's going to be this year of The Voice, at least, but who knows?
yeah. I mean, that would be pretty cool, right? Like, and how where is micro wake word, especially like that kind of stuff, right? Like it's
Yeah.
I think that'd be it's again, I'm excited to see where that's going. I've said this a few times on the show too, right? Like I'm excited to see what's happening with it, just because as Amazon's pulling out features from the Echoes, right? We talked about the
Mm.
list APIs and stuff like that before, but just as they're pulling out those kind of features, Home Assistant's adding it, and hopefully it'll get to that point where it's actually extremely good.
Yeah, I totally agree, and we can talk a lot about like how it's not perfect yet, but it's come a so long way. I mean, those
Yeah.
guys have done wonderful job, and everything is like accessible and open source and available, and people can just, so it's just a matter of time, right? So it's just amazing work going into the whole last year was a blast, just seeing everything coming out. And we all just waited for that wake for thing, thinking that they're never going to make
Yeah.
it work, right? It's never going to work, and then it comes out, and it's like, how do you guys do that? So it's just
Yeah.
amazing, yeah.
It is. It is. It's a bunch of extremely talented folks building this stuff, right? So which is really cool. Um, one
What?
thing I saw in your email that I wanted to slightly change gears on, which I think is completely exciting here, is you built a watch winder with a stepper motor in a 3D printed enclosure. That is the exact quote. I
Yeah.
I I
Yeah,
want one. I've seen them, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to pay that much for it, kind of thing. Because
yeah.
I got a couple of automatic watches, whatever, right? Nothing fancy, but like so I'm intrigued. How did that go? Did you follow some instructions, or did you just think of it yourself? What
No,
did you do?
there's actually a lot of templates on that for in like Thingiverse and stuff like that. If you have 3D printer, you can print like
Yeah,
everything, and you just add there's some of those that has basically place for adding like a, a motor, like a stepper motor or something like that, that fits right in. So
yeah,
just screw it into the software or in the base there. And then it's just a matter of what controls it. And obviously my problem was that I have this clock that stops running whenever I put it down. Like if I forget to wear it for
yeah,
a day, it stops running. So it was just basically, and obviously it's just doing that in Home Assistant and ESP Home. It's like it's definitely overkill because you just need some device that actually just rotates at a given like
totally.
frequency. But it's like the thing about ESP Home is it's so easy to just make stuff that actually works way easier than writing Arduino code and thinking about like
Yeah,
the baud rate and everything like and yeah, it's so not having to write code for it, so it's actually easier to just okay, I'm gonna let Home Assistant do that and let it run on schedule and then thinking about
yeah,
those watches as well. As far as that, my understanding is that you shouldn't have them rotating like linear rotations for a prolonged time because that could also damage it. It needs to be
yeah.
like more random or so it's basically just like it's basically just a stepper motor that's activated like basically on the schedule, so it's not like triggered by that's also a cool thing that could work as well, like whenever you go to sleep or whenever you could just activate
Yeah,
it whenever it's something's on it, but it just goes to show like how flexible ESP Home is. You can build you can build anything, right?
totally. So what is it? Just like once an hour or something? It just kind of does like a
Yeah,
back and
or
forth,
like
or like do you
yeah, like a full
oh,
back and forth. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
interesting. That's so cool.
So
Okay, this
I'm
is
gonna sound like someone that like an average person that listens to our podcast sometimes like it's just stumbled upon it because go, why would you do that? Someone that's never heard of these like automated watches, can you just give me like what is the purpose of this clock or I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
understand. Like you have
It's a wristwatch, and it's a mechanical
Mhm.
wristwatch. So it doesn't have batteries. It just works off of
yeah,
the like kinetic energy of like using it. So you
Right.
have to actually wear it to for it to continue working. And whenever you like when you have kids, like there's many reasons during the day that you want to take off your wristwatch. You don't forget to put it back
Yeah.
on, or you just taking it off at night and you forget to put it back on in the morning. So just putting on somewhere that actually ensures you can buy these quite expensive like watch winders
yeah,
online that basically cost a lot of money, but it's basically a battery driven device that rotates at a given like frequency, or yeah, like once an hour just rotating back and forth, actually provided with a bit of energy to keep running. um, so you don't have to because you would have to actually like rewind your watch if you don't yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Clearly not a watch person, so now thank you
No,
for the
it's
explanation.
it
The
it's
last watch I
it's
wore was a smartwatch until the battery didn't, charge. So,
yeah.
um,
I again, I love a good automatic watch, and that's my biggest gripe for it. And I've looked at watch winders and stuff like that, and to your point, Benjamin, they are fairly expensive. So it's like, I don't know if I want to spend that much money. I'd rather just, pick it up, shake the watch, throw it on, and or not even shake the watch, just throw it on, and as I walk,
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
automatically start doing whatever. And then, but I'm always walking around with the wrong time, which then defeats
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
purpose.
That's my experience as well. Yeah.
It, it's I've had so many people like managers and like all that stuff being like, man, what time zone are you in? Right? And it's like, oh man, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, or even just people asking you what's the time, and you instinctively pull up your arm and like, I don't know actually.
You know what? It's funny because I always pull out my phone when people ask me what's the time,
Yeah,
and even and people are like, "You're wearing a watch." I'm like, "Yeah, let's
Don't
not go there," because it's like I'll have run out because I'm running late, and it's like I'm not going to be driving and like trying to set the time on my watch, right? That's just asking for an accident. It's totally unsafe, right? I would never do that. And then by the time I'm already in like a meeting or something, and it's like I'm not. It's just yeah. So
yeah, yeah.
this is a pretty cool solution. I don't know why I didn't think that could be DIY'd. That's just not something that I thought of. But yeah, that totally makes sense. That's so cool.
What else have you been doing with ESP Home? I guess you've got voice now, you're powering your watch. Any other have you gone like the Bluetooth proxy route as well and gone down that
No,
rabbit
actually,
hole?
I haven't done the Bluetooth proxy thing. I just decided that I don't think phones or like physical devices would matter that much to us. Like usually, like when we have a kit of the arm, we don't carry anything around with us with Bluetooth, I had just haven't gone down that route. But I've done a few other things, like a few small projects, like for example. I have a motored awning outside our home, like one of those that rolls out and in front of
Yeah.
the house. And that had a remote control, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what protocol is it. What this is? It has rolling codes. It's sort of a sort of thing, but it's not. And I just couldn't crack it in any way, and I couldn't find any libraries for it or anything. And it's kind of an off-brand thing. So what I actually did, I was able to find on, I think it was eBay or something. I think I actually had to buy it from the US and buy it overseas because I couldn't find it in Norway. But I just dismantled that and accessed the board underneath, and instead of doing a more elaborate job, I just soldered on the ESP Home to the different buttons. I could map pinouts to the different buttons, so I could just bypass the remote and just so the remote actually sends the signal. I just let ESP do it for me instead of pressing it. And that worked. It was super stable. It's been working for a couple of years. So that's great. I mean, it's just an ESP N266, the Wemos D1 running that thing. So it's been working perfectly fine.
Have you got is that a battery then on the remote that needs to be replaced? So I'm guessing like you've got the ESP device, pressing the buttons on the remote, but you've still got the remote that's battery powered, right? So you're gonna have to
I
replace the
haven't done
battery on that.
anything to provide power to the remote. Like it's a remote that's expected to work for many years, I believe. So it's just a coin battery. I didn't bother to do anything with that. But it works. It really works. And if it somehow stops working, the battery is a place to start troubleshooting, I guess. Yeah.
You're just the marketing guy that's going in and doing all this stuff with ESP32 soldering stuff, and I'm like,
yeah. The good thing is
it.
it's kind of low voltage. So if I have some kind of I have a better clue what I'm doing. So and
Yeah.
it's a fun project. So I know a little bit about electronics as well. So I always grew up with kind of like tech interest. So I'm not
Mhm.
too afraid of that, but I guess
Yeah.
it looks kind of like daunting as well. Like when you opening the closet and you see like a lot of like loose wires and electronics in there. Like that's also a question that my girlfriend asked me as well. Like, is this safe? Like, what are you? Do you know what you're doing? When I'm sitting on the kitchen table soldering, like, and smoke's coming up, and then it's like, is what is this? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
another thing it did as well with the ESP Home was, or that was actually not ESP Home. That was actually running Open Garage, but I could have used ESP Home for that as well. I'm not sure why I actually chose Open Garage for that. Um, but it's an ESP opening and closing the garage door as well, and that's
yeah.
also been super stable since I installed that. And it's actually can get kind of freezing in the winter, and it's not an
Mm.
isolated garage. But that device has just been running and running, even though negative 10 Celsius. It's been working fine.
So tell me about your home network then. Like you've obviously got a few ESP devices running around. You've got Sensibos, you've got, all these smart devices going on. How are you doing like home networking? Like, have you got like a lot of Wi-Fi? Like, what's your Wi-Fi like? What's your router like? Did you have to go anything special
Yeah,
to handle all
I
this?
follow like some of those like on Reddit, like the Home Lab Reddit and the Home System
Yeah.
subreddit, and
Mm.
try to like follow some what everyone answers like it's Unify, it's Unify. You have to use Unify. So I went ahead and bought Unify, so that's what I'm running. So and that has been great. I pulled some Ethernet cables on our throughout the house and running a few access points and also a few wireless access points as well in the garage, for example. So because I find that the ESP devices in the garage, it's a bit too
Mm.
far and it's a bit too poor signal. So it's all about trying and failing. And figure out how can I get the best reception to make this work. So it's actually it's been great. If you asked uh, um, earlier about like how is everything stable, like is everything working fine, and actually I know a lot of people complaining that things when you add a lot of devices things stops working and like I have a lot of Wi-Fi devices as well. Like it's not on purpose, but it's working fine. Like I don't have any problems with that. I have experiences. I have some Wi-Fi 6 access points as well, so I think that's helped a bit with the important
Mm.
devices like streaming or and phones and laptops and newer devices. So Wi-Fi 4 is like that's kind of the Wild West for me. It's a lot of things happening there that probably not the best practice, but um, so that I think that also affects the reception for those ESP devices. So I need to have an access point like fairly close for because there's small antennas
Sure.
and everything.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to put the layout like to make sense. So from the room where I have the Home Assistant um, with the with the sticks, basically, trying to
Yep.
think like how what is the mesh network looking like? Putting I have some panel heaters, like wall-mounted heaters that's Zigbee based. So those are like surrounding the house, so providing good coverage for small devices, and doing the same with Zigbee, like those thermostat that you mentioned, Phil, earlier. I have
Yep.
8 of those, so they work as routers as well. So everything is kind of I think that everything is kind of stable, and those sensors that I don't have like many edge zones with bad reception anymore because I try to think okay in that corner um Zigbee
Yeah.
is a good alternative, or in that corner it's Zigbee, or and if nothing else works, it's Wi-Fi. So try to. I don't buy that many random devices anymore, so I kind of miss that. That was kind of fun, like going to stores. I want that one, but I don't do that as much anymore. I try to figure out like what do I need and how to solve a problem with that.
Yeah, I still have, like,
Yeah.
I call it my trinket drawer, right? Where I've got a whole bunch of devices I just bought when they're on an AliExpress sale, thinking, "Oh, I need that. I'm gonna do something with that."
Yeah,
And it's still in the cupboard. One day it will never be used, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, so I totally feel you. I wanna shift gears now a little bit. So we've talked a lot. I think we've skirted around the edges, but I wanna know what some, like, if I'm going into your house, what is, like, the one of your favorite, like, features of that the home assistant is bringing to your house? Like, is it a favorite automation, or is it just, how's home assistant really changing your life day to day?
yeah. Yeah, it's in a lot of ways really, and it's all about like I think it's a summary of a lot of small things. So it's not like one elaborate like you go in and go into full disco mode or zen mode, or like yeah,
Yeah.
everything flashing lights and everything, even though it's kind of charming when things are not working as well, but I would say that the dashboards and adding a lot of like software stuff as well. It's not only like physical devices, but um, me and my girlfriend, we use the Home Assistant app, and we transitioned our shopping list into that.
Mhm.
I've done a few like fun things with that because I was like, okay, I can access the shopping list now. I can do cool stuff with that. So I have a few like things running in the background, less kind of quality of life stuff going on with the shopping list. So for example, I was thinking about like I work in marketing, so I think like a customer journey, like
Yeah.
from what's our experience getting groceries like. So whenever I set up a Muley, so I have a Docker or a VM running Docker. So I set Muley and the Muley plans there. And with the new integration, you actually get a lot of things going on, and you can add when you add things to the shopping list in Muley, they're automatically transferred to the shopping list in Home Assistant. So I made that work, and also running a few automations. For example, in our shopping list, whenever we check an item in the shopping list, every day at midnight, the the shopping list is cleared, so you don't have a lot of like residual stuff going on. And whenever we go to the grocery store to get something there, we get a notification on the phone, and that says you have 12 items in your shopping list, and
Nice.
also set up like a small snippet there of with the OpenAI integration. So it actually, I send OpenAI the list of items, and it returns a string that basically summarizes the list. Like, what's the gist of the list? What's going on here?
Cool.
Oh.
Um, and also whenever I set up an automation so that in Node-RED actually, whenever you complete an item in the shopping list, that's added to the calendar. I have a local calendar that's
Mhm.
called like the shopping history. So I send it over there, and every day I send like an OpenAI summary of the last month of shopping, and ask it to compare it to the current shopping list. So I send it with the dates and everything. So I'm not like sure how well it handles that, but it I ask it to tell me if I forgot to add something to my shopping list. So have you forgot anything like fabric softener, milk, bread? Like yeah. So it actually it checks. So I send them over both those lists, and they compare them, and it just sends something back. And sometimes it makes sense, and sometimes may not, because it's generative AI. It does whatever it wants.
Yeah.
But it's like small, cool things that I think just adds to the family in some way, that I
No,
really like.
this is fantastic. Like,
That's really cool.
because now you're getting like, yeah, you're telling AI, this is the cadence that I'm buying these products on, right? Like, so the AI can see twice a week you're buying milk, once every 3 months you're buying dishwashing tablets, and checking the
Yeah.
cadence. Okay, now it's been 3 months since you bought the dishwashing tablets. You haven't added that to the shopping list. This, like, yeah, no, that is a fantastic use case, and I love that you're using Home Assistant like local calendar to do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
hats off to you. This is you're giving me another reason to want to
Yeah.
use OpenAI. Like, I haven't gone to OpenAI.
Yeah.
Like the last blog post I did, I think, was on Grocery years ago. And this was my like dream of Grocery, right? Like and I'm starting to get back into
Yeah.
Grocery. Which is the whole thing, right? Like, what are the cadences that I'm buying these things on, right? Like, if I put in the purchase history in Grocery, I should be able to then go into Grocery and see, okay, I'm using X amount over on average a month, right?
Yeah.
But now, obviously, I started using Grocery before ChatGPT and OpenAI was a thing. You're just essentially doing the same thing, but letting AI do the calculations
Yeah, because you can just
for you.
send. That's the great thing about this integration as well. I don't even have to parse the JSON that comes out of like get events or get lister. I just send the whole like raw information over to OpenAI, and it just returns the single sentence that I ask you for, like in prompt, right? Send me, and I store it in a helper entity, so it has to be below 255 characters for that to work. And yeah, so we can think it works fairly well. It's a good way to like make the home do stuff without it adds some creativity and some flair, something happening that you didn't specifically write. So like with the morning
Yeah.
greeting, if you have like 20 alternatives, it's not exciting for you anymore, because
No.
you basically wrote it, and it's fun that it's random, but you wrote it.
Yeah.
So, but this actually brings some kind of interesting elements into your home. And
Yeah.
Totally.
I actually also used OpenAI to in our hallway, in our entry. I have a Nest Hub, and it shows like the weather, the state of my like electric car, and some basic stuff. But it also has a OpenAI haiku. So I pass it the next event in the calendar. I pass it the weather. I pass it whether it's trash day. I pass it like a few things going on, and it just writes a haiku based off of that information. So that's just a cool thing that makes no sense really, because it just basically doesn't make sense. But it's like a cool thing showing what's possible. And every time I come home, Home Assistant actually wrote a message for me that I didn't have to write myself. So I think it's a fun thing going on. And I actually also
cool.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
And another thing that I did recently was, Spotify. Once a year, you get that like Spotify Wrapped thing, like showing you, showing you your favorite music throughout the year. And so I thought, maybe why don't the house give me like a weekly wrap, like showing me what's going on the next week, what's happening. So I made a dashboard, just building like with one column down, and passing it. These are the calendar events for the next week. Next, what is it? 168 hours or something like that. And it just writes a summary, because now it's like this week is like, next week is going to be exciting. 1 week filled with health, love, and new adventures, and just listing out like things going on. So it's just fun to watch it. And also passing over, I have a list of to-dos and like maintenance things going on in the house. Some of them are recurring. So whenever you complete an item, like for example, cleaning the coffee machine, I have an automation triggering that event in Home Assistant, and adds it in 3 months again with the countdown. So So it's like whenever it's always a cycle going on. So I don't always add the maintenance things myself. Like it could be, for example, if a robot vacuum or needs cleaning, or the robot mower is stuck,
Hmm.
or fell off a cliff or whatever. It's just adds like an item on our to-do list. So also it summarizes and prioritizes based on like what OpenAI perceives as most important. So, for example, we have like a punctured glass in our house, um, and also is cutting the hedge, and it's cool. Like
Yeah.
it seems to be able to prioritize lists somehow, like figuring that replacing the glass is more important than cutting the hedge.
Yeah.
So that's a brilliant use for AI. I think like just
Yeah.
sending data and getting something back that helps you like simplify like if you in some information.
Okay. So I need to dive into that because I also use Home Assistant to do some of my to-do lists, right? Like even this podcast, right? Like I've got Home Assistant detecting that, okay, we're talking to Benjamin today. It's going out on this date. I need to have it edited by this, right? Um, are you using a Home Assistant to-do list to have all those chores in the house? Is it just a
Yeah,
single
yeah,
to-do list
yeah,
or is it a
yeah.
calendar
A
event?
single
Okay.
to-do list. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so then you've got OpenAI reading that to-do list and then reprioritizing it, I'm guessing?
Yeah. I'm just passing over the get list, or what the service call is. I
Yep.
can't remember, and
Yeah.
just ask it to prioritize this list, and it sends back
Okay.
in a numbered list, like 1 to 5. Like what do the AI think is most important? And usually, like it's not that smart. You may want to like add, but that's its charm. Like you can add a prompt to it. You can say. If there's anything regarding like the house, like physical house, outdoor maintenance, you should prioritize that first. And it's
Yep.
so you can just prompt it like so I've done that very too much. So it's always like the like fixing like punctured glass. That's always top priority, because it's basically
Mm.
like if you have a broken glass, you need to fix it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool. So it changes. It's not like consistent either, because it could change its priority from week to week based on the same items, but
Yeah.
it has something going for it. I really believe it
Mhm.
has something going for it.
And how are you getting those maintenance tasks into Home? Is that just like a random, like, okay, I realized the glass is punctured, I'll go in and add that to the list manually,
Yeah,
or have you
that's
got like
manually.
a
Yeah.
great?
So
Yep.
those like things showing up. It's just to remember that I need to fix like some things
Yeah.
that we need to fix. And there's a
Yep.
lot of other things that's added automatically as well. Like for example, the vacuum. If it has the state of it has a reports if it's the bin is full or needs water replacement or whatever. There's a sensor for that. So it's able to both add the item, but since it knows what it's written, it's also able to check the item whether when the problem is fixed. So you don't actually need to go in and check the item for those things. You could just go in and check that item and remove it from the list whenever the problem is fixed. So there's a lot. It's a list that kind of lives a little bit, and some things are important, some things are not important, but all of them are like things that need to be done at some point.
Yeah, because this is similar to like how I'm using like my to-do list, like same thing, right? Like with the Roborock integration. So it will detect, okay, dustbin needs to be replaced. So it will just add, at the moment, I'm just sending a notification to my phone because I'm trying to turn off the Roborock notifications because I find them too noisy. But yeah, eventually I want to be able to go and add like a task, right?
Yeah.
Do this. And I also have like I think I talked about it on episode ages ago, but I have a smart calendar service that I use that then are now detecting battery levels. Like if I know that a battery is 10% for this
Yeah,
device, okay, I need to replace it, right?
Yeah.
So it then adds a to-do list, then goes into my calendar and, it'll prioritize the calendar entry and go like, right, Sunday night, I know you're not busy. I'm going to give you 15 minutes, go and replace that battery essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, having like AI to do like, yeah, send you a summary of this is what the priority of your current maintenance tasks are.
Yeah,
Like,
because all about
fantastic.
like if you have like a busy family life or and work life and the time to do things in your home is kind of limited, and maybe I have a kid in the arm while fixing things, or I don't sit down like now I'm going to spend a few hours just doing home assistant. That time has passed. That's no more. So it's just getting the overview and over what's happening and being able to fix things on the fly. I think it's smart to have some solution for that. But I also have like a dashboard showing, for example, that you have that what's that card called, the auto entities card, that you can,
Yeah.
whenever there's an error or a device is unavailable or there's a low battery, you can put that as conditions for that card, and that also
Yeah.
works. And also I have used, for example, Uptime Kuma for different services, so I can monitor, for example, the Docker things going on. I use a bit of different Docker services,
Yeah.
for example, Mealy, and just getting an overview of all that and updates available. Previously, we had to go into Hacks to see if there's any updates in Hacks, for example. Now you can so I believe that that's changed now, but you can also add to the auto entities, like if there's an update either in Home Assistant or in Hacks, you get that in a card as well. So just an overview over what's going on, and so I can be proactive. So and say that okay, this sensor breaks, or this light bulb breaks, or and becomes unavailable. I could be ahead of the rest of the household in terms of just fixing that, or
Yeah. Absolutely, and I'm even just thinking just of tonight we opened, because the weather's changed, just starting to change down here in Australia, right? We're starting to get warmer, and we opened a door that we haven't opened up for ages. Right? I've got a door sensor on it, but I realized the door sensor, it's got battery, but it just didn't trigger and didn't say that the door was open. Right? That's an
Right.
external door, right? That's a security door, or a security sensor, right? It would be cool to have like OpenAI know, okay, the last time this door was triggered was, or I saw this device was X days ago, right? And I haven't seen it. Maybe the battery's flat. Raise that as an issue, right? Because right now there's so many, depending on the device. Z-Wave has a last seen entity. Whenever I restart my Home Assistant instance, all the last updated time changes to when Home Assistant changed. So it's really hard to know, like,
yeah.
is this device dead, or is it just I haven't opened the door in ages and what's the deal, right?
Yeah,
But if I could get OpenAI or something to look at that for me and then say, hey,
yeah.
you might want to look at this. This looks concerning. That might be a good use case too.
Yeah, but I actually try that, like trying to pass over, like sending over to OpenAI and spending a lot of API credits on that, setting the entire list of entities over, like, what's going on here? Is the house secure? Based on this information, and the problem with ChatGPT or that OpenAI integration is that if it can't give you an answer, basically it just makes one up. So it made some phantom rooms and phantom sensors that don't exist. Like the loft window is open, and like, do I have a loft window? Does it have a sensor? No, I don't have this. So it's like, where do you get this information? It would be so fun to see, like, what was the rationale of giving this information? So I don't think we're there yet. Definitely not keeping up control of the house. Like, I see that as also something that's probably coming eventually, like being able to just let ChatGPT control your house. But I'm definitely not doing that anytime soon.
Yeah. It's so. I mean, we've been talking about how you leverage ChatGPT and all that stuff. One of the things for me is, how do you manage the costs behind that? Because obviously there's an API cost and so on, right? So do you find that sometimes it gets bloated, sometimes it gets, or is it pretty much most things that you do fit in that, like, kind of whatever default bucket of like $10 for,
yeah, it's a default bucket,
whatever.
and then that works fine. I try to keep the prompts and the answers short, and also because I'm storing most of the information that in helper text helpers as well. This is like short answer, so it's not like I get a whole like story coming out of each prompt as well. So that's what you're using credits, actually writing long answers and sending. But I had to set some state information, obviously, like passing over a list of like every item we've shopped the last month or two. Like that's a lot of information to pass over. But I tried to not run that extensively, just running it like, for example, running it, running some of them only when we were at the grocery store, and we entered the zone, or whenever we like maybe once a day or once a week, or try to keep it down low. For example, weekly summary, it's just once a week. Every Sunday it runs before it starts notification. So it's manageable, and I'd rather not dump everything in my house into AI as well. So I try to have some control over. I don't want to send to the AI overlords all the information about my home, right? So there's a private concern as well because it's not local.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
I'm I think I'm gonna have to start using OpenAI, or some AI integration now. This is I'm seeing all these potential use cases just come out from this conversation. So you've inspired me, Benjamin. I'm loving it.
I was gonna say, I think the cool thing here is it's not just like, I mean, you do some fun things, right? Like the haiku and stuff like that, but it's not using it for the sake of using it. There's actually like value behind and the productivity behind what you use it for, right? So I think that's what I really like.
The value proposition of having you have all this data that you like. We're kind of, all of us are data hoarders, right? We probably, and most of us have InfluxDB storing data 10 years back with a lot of sensor data information and like all the entities, like having like many thousand entities in Home Assistant, and we don't use it for anything. It's like, do you put it on a dashboard, like showing all the attributes of different things going on in your home? Like things change today. At that bus, it's probably like there's hundreds of thousands of things going on every day. What do you use it for? And I think AI could be the solution that providing some value out of this. And I also was thinking like a customer journey, like how do we actually use our home and during our day, like we have to go to the grocery store, right? What kind of information do we need? And how long does it take me to actually code this logic compared to just passing over to some crazy machine in the cloud and making that work, do it instead. So that's magical, I think.
Yeah.
And how are you getting the information that, okay, I purchased milk on this day into Home Assistant? Like, I think you said you were clearing out a shopping list every day.
Yeah. So So whenever you're at the we check the shopping list whenever we're at the store. So when we pick it off the shelf, we just check it off the list. So that's when it's added to the calendar. So you work through the list and it's added to the calendar. So for example, if we're at one kind of store, but they ran out of milk, ran out of something, and we didn't buy it that day, it's not checked, right? So it's not added to the calendar until maybe the next day we go to a different store and get it. So we know the date of the purchase of all these items, and that's kind of the core, right? You need to know when did you actually get those things, because it doesn't matter when you added it to the shopping list, because that could be like a week or two before you actually get it, because it could be like weird things that you don't run out. Like it's like grill cleaner or whatever, you need to go to a special store for that. And things like that.
Yeah, totally. And I guess then you've got so does that mean you're both running the Home Assistant app to then see that to-do list, or have you got it integrated into another?
We use so that was kind of important for me as well, because I built dashboards for in Lovelace, and actually started using the bubble card a lot lately with the pop-ups. I mean, kudos to, I hope the developer is listening, because what an amazing job building that. It's like a revolution for Home Assistant and building that
Yeah.
dashboard at different
Yeah.
levels, right? Because
Totally.
you don't want all the information at the same time. You want to have like the important information up front, but you want, for example, I have one button for house cleaning, and that button just tells me last cleaning was today or yesterday or 4 days ago. And you don't need like all the controls for all the vacuums on the front page in your kitchen at all times. Like you want to tap that, and then you
Yeah.
want to control like what zone, what rooms, what kind of like do you want to run just a single one of them, or one single floor, or whatever. So you don't want all the information at the same time. And we also use the calendar functionality a lot, connected to the Google. We have shared Google Calendar, so we add things in the household that's important with either the kids or ourselves,
Yeah.
and pulling in data from different platforms as well. For example, I follow F1, so I added the F1 calendar, official F1 calendar, into Home Assistant as like a web calendar there, and merged that into our common Home Assistant dashboard as well. And also whenever it's trash day, so we have an integration that adds that you can add like the trash day to the calendar, so everything just comes up in that list, so we know that if things going on. And so there's a lot of automation in that calendar as well, so we know what's going on. And some things are family stuff, some things are birthdays. Yeah. So for example, when it's an F1 race, but I have like tradition that it's an ongoing F1 race. I show the F1 cards showing like the today's track and who won last year, and a lot of information.
Oh,
So
wow.
That's cool. I saw somebody, I think said they posted it on Facebook or Reddit, one of the two. And somebody made like a full F1 dashboard, and it was super cool. It even gave the layout of the map that's going on, like for the current track and like whatever. And like it gave a ton of information. I thought it was the coolest thing. And as someone who's, for me, I've recently gotten into F1 a couple of years ago. Same kind of deal, right? So it's which I'm like, oh, that's super cool.
yeah. But you don't
But
want it like the entire time, right? You want it maybe a race day, or when it's race week, or something that's kind of bit more conditional. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow, there is so many use cases that I didn't realize. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet, Benjamin, that you'd like to?
Yeah. I have another cool project as well that I've been working on actually with my dad for because he's also an Home Assistant enthusiast. So we've been doing a lot of
nice.
projects together. And what we actually did was like he has an instance, I have an instance. It would be cool if we could do something like sharing something across that. Without like compromising, because as you know, like I have compromised my systems before, so I tried.
Yes.
I wanted to not do that, but I actually have a VM running at his house, so running an MQTT server. So I said, what we actually did was set up an MQTT bridge, both of us, towards that shared broker, and then we just decide what kind of entities, what kind of data that do we want to share from our personal Home Assistant instances, and then we can just pull the data that that's interesting to us, so we can just see what the other one is sharing, and then just compare them and add them to. So, for example, just sharing some weather sensors, sharing like some, and it could also be like security. Like it's a bit of just a cool project. Trying to make things without like opening too many doors across places. Yeah. So that's also another cool thing going on.
That's kind of neat because you can do like, for example, like hey, like it's noticed that you're not home and maybe your
Mm.
partner's not home or your kids aren't home, whatever, and the door is open. So like, hey, send an alert to not just your phones, but maybe they live close by or something, and
Yeah, yeah,
send an alert to their thing too. Is that kind of the idea there, or
yeah,
did I
yeah,
just
yeah, definitely, and
completely make
also like
yeah
fire alarms, right?
yeah
Yeah, many use cases, water alerts, things like that. It may be that, and my dad also works pretty close to where I live, so if he's at work, is we've been experimenting a lot of that, and it's been super stable as well. So I thought
nice
that was a kind of a cool project. Yeah,
yeah that is neat.
Did you consider using, I think there's a Hacks component, like remote home assistant, where you can
yeah.
link up to instances? I think it uses
I
WebSockets
just
as opposed to
yeah,
MQTT.
yeah, I just thought that was kind of a bit too close integration because I don't want to like make it look like I live at my dad's place. Like,
Yep.
um, yeah, and I
Yeah.
personally I believe he writes a lot messier code than I do. So so I don't want like
Yeah, you
That's
don't want that
funny.
interfering with your
yeah,
home.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, Benjamin, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. This has been a great episode, so thank you.
Yeah.
You certainly inspired me to look at AI a lot more. So thank you for
Yeah.
putting me down that rabbit hole.
Thank you
That's
a
been
lot for
great.
having me. It's been great.
Thanks so much, Benjamin.